Hey besties!
Hey,
Welcome back for another episode of the Hello Bestie podcast. I'm Maggie.
I'm Tashima.
All right, teens, tell us what book we're discussing today.
Alright, so this week we have The Secret Book Society by Madeline Martin.
Mhm.
So it's basically a book that takes place in the 1800s with a group of women who kind of rebel against their current status, social status, like, patriarchy and all that, by reading books.
Mhm.
And they come together and kind of form a friendship over their love of reading, which some of them are not allowed to do.
Right.
So the book does have some trigger warnings like child death, loss, mental illness, um, yeah, that general type of stuff. The book basically opens up with a boy running into a woman's home, well, going up to a woman's home and basically saying that one of her friends is being taken to a mental institution. And at that point, we don't really know who that woman is. He describes her boot as having a flower on it and, that he really likes her and, to please help her. And then we fast forward basically to the beginning of like how the friendship started because the primary narrator basically is feeling like this woman being taken to a mental institution is basically her fault.
Mm-hmm.
And so she kind of like reminisces on how they got to where they are now.
Mm-hmm.
So we find out that the person who's starting the narrating, that's
Lady Duxbury.
Yeah. And so she has extended an invitation to a certain um, group of women and invited them to have tea at her house. And once these women arrive, she basically tells them that she's inviting them to become members of the Secret Book Society,
Mm-hmm.
where she's a 3-time widow, and she loves to read and has basically this huge library of all of these literary arts works that are primarily written by women.
Mm-hmm.
And so the women are super excited but they're also really nervous because each of them has some dark things going on in their personal lives.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time it's really taboo to talk about what happens behind closed doors of your home.
And they're a little anxious because she is a 3-time widow, and there are a lot of rumors going on about how her previous husbands passed away. So
yeah, exactly. People in the town, especially the men, are basically saying that she has murdered all of her husbands.
yeah,
So
they're proceeding with caution. Basically, they're interested, but they're dipping their toes in.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And they're also afraid of what would happen if people found out that that's what they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
So their husbands are thinking, or their fathers or brothers or whatever, are thinking that they're just going there to have tea. So basically, what they're doing could land them in a lot of trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And trouble meaning at that time period, I guess it was is it the Victorian era?
Yeah, Victorian era.
That was like the most during that time period. I guess statistically women were committed into mental institutions as like, let's just go ahead and get rid of her.
Did you know that before reading this book?
No,
I did not know that was a thing.
No, I was just like, wow. So when you're tired of her, you basically can just say she's crazy and pay enough for a doctor to sign off on it.
And that's it. If she came off as too emotional, if she seemed depressed, if she questioned you too much, if she literally for any reason.
Yeah, if you found somebody that you liked better.
It's like she has hysteria. Go ahead and send her off.
Yeah. And these places are not
like
really
jails.
nice.
Right.
Yeah. Like really bad. Because they're putting women who don't belong in mental institutions in with people who have actually committed crimes and do belong in these places.
Mm-hmm.
So Lady Duxbury has invited Mrs. Clark, Lavinia. So Mrs. Clark is married and has like a toddler son.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Lavinia, who is in that, I don't know, she's like in the dating era.
Yeah, she's like in the courting stage.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
where she should have already gotten married, but the one person that she was supposed to marry, she basically turned down his proposal. but her sister is basically next in line. But in the way that it worked during that time is she really needed to be married. So in order for her sister to get married, she has to be married. So there's some pressure on her
Mhm.
to get the ball rolling. And then you have Rose Wharton, who married an Englishman, and but she's American.
Mhm.
So, but they're currently in London, and they just fell in love to fall in love, but um Mr. Wharton's older brother is dying of cancer, and so now he um, is having to basically prepare for the role of being a duke, which was never really in the cards, and kind of changes, not kind of, but really changes his relationship with Rose, because now she has to assume a role that she's like, I didn't sign up for all of this.
Mhm.
And now she's put in a position where she has to become something that she's like, but this isn't me.
Mhm.
And then a lot of the women really don't like her either. Just people in London don't really care for her American accent and how straightforward she is, just
Mhm.
in saying things, where they're very like, we don't talk about those sort of things.
Mhm.
So she's having a hard time adjusting. And then I feel like that's it, right?
Yeah, those are the three: Eleanor Clark, Lady Lavinia, and
Rose
Rose
Warden.
Warden.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So when she invites all of these ladies there, she basically tells them why they're there, but that she wants this to be a safe space. She wants them to be friends. She wants them to feel like they can confide in one another and really bond and uplift each other.
Mhm.
And so they're a little nervous in the beginning, but she's like, in the meantime, here's some snacks, there's some books, and enjoy yourself. And that's basically what they do
Mhm.
for like the beginning portion of the book. The ladies get together, they start to get to know each other, and then Eleanor has a ball and obviously invites all of these ladies and other people. And that's where we kind of find out that Lavinia has what I feel like is basically anxiety attacks.
Mhm.
She gets really overwhelmed with social situations, and she starts to kind of have a little bit of a panic attack. And um, I'm just gonna call her Mrs. Clark because
Mhm.
that's how I remembered it. She basically kind of spots her from across the room and is like, "Hey, let me tell you about this. Oh, let me show you that painting that I was telling you about." Lavinia's like, "I don't know anything about a painting," but basically it was just a way to be able to get her out of the space and give her an opportunity to take a breath.
Mhm.
And basically at that point, we it had already been insinuated well before that, but because of her taking Lavinia into that other room later that evening, Mr. Clark basically like mollywops Mrs. Clark
Yeah,
for being gone.
Cecil.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So he basically beats her for being gone from the party and whatever else issue that he has with the way she said something or whatever. But she is very much known in town for being perfect.
Mhm.
Everybody sees her as being like every hair being in its place. She always says the right thing at the right time. Her dresses, her jewelry, everything is like top tier. She's the envy of the town, but secretly her life is completely miserable. Her husband controls every aspect of her life, with the exception at this point she's allowed to pick out her own clothing. But that's it. She's only allowed to see her son like every 2 days.
That was heartbreaking for like
Yeah.
15 minutes at a time.
Yeah, it was really, really sad.
He doesn't want him to be spoiled or whatever. And
Hmm. And it completely breaks her heart because when she sees her son, like she just wants to spend time with him. And then when she begs for it, he basically beats her
mhm.
for, making him soft and then not listening to her.
Mhm. And he does this in front of maids and everything. Like it's
Yeah.
just a common.
Within his home.
Mhm.
Like people outside of the home don't know that this is
Right.
going on.
Well, I think they know because it sounds like most men kind of did things like that. It's
Well, I
just
mean,
you
the
keep
men
it in your
probably do,
home.
but the
Yeah.
women, they
Yeah.
were none the wiser
Yeah.
because everybody's looking at her, wishing that they could be her.
Yeah.
Like how perfect and happy they are, and really they were anything but.
Mm.
So, shortly after that, as a result, she has this gift of really being able to read people, which is how she was able to kind of intercept Lavinia right before she had like a total meltdown. She's had to train herself to be able to read her husband's moods to try to basically prevent him from abusing her
Mhm.
physically. So then when they have their next society meeting, each time they meet, they basically like somebody kind of starts to share a little bit more because these women have gotten comfortable with each other and being in these very similar social circles. They've seen each other out and about and have basically helped each other like in little ways.
Mhm.
Them knowing each other has really helped elevate them outside of that book society. Eleanor Clark basically confesses that her husband has been abusing her, which takes the whole entire group, with the exception of Miss Duxbury, um, by surprise. And they're just like, wow, like, how is this possible? You look so perfect. You look so happy. And then with certain people's bravery telling all of their secrets, other women kind of start to come forward too. Lavinia is afraid that she's going to be committed to a mental institution because she's basically having these anxiety attacks.
And she writes poetry to like express herself and get everything she's feeling out on paper. And I
Which
think,
Miss Duxbury
mhm,
encouraged her to do.
right.
Basically saying like, you're not crazy, you're just passionate. You need to write all of these things down. 'Cause she basically had her describe to us how you feel in these moments. And then when she said it, she was like, she thought that everybody was judging her because their mouths are gaped wide open, and they basically were saying that that was actually beautiful. And
Mhm,
if you were a man, you would be a prodigy, or like,
right.
regarded as like somebody super amazing. Because you're a woman, you're too emotional,
Mhm.
and you're, what do they call it? Like,
Mad.
well, there's like some way that they're saying it's like reading these types of books basically influences them and makes them less obedient to their
Oh,
husbands and puts
yeah.
things in their head that, so they have like, there are certain books that the women are supposed to read, which is the way that they described it is sounds kind of like Martha Stewart
I
homemaking.
forget the name of the book, but it was something like that, like a
Yeah.
woman's home, how to make a home or
Right.
something around
And
that.
that's all that they should be reading
Mhm,
is how to be a dutiful wife.
mhm,
Um, and so with the encouragement of the book society, she starts writing all of this poetry down. And then Mrs. Duxbury tells Mrs. Clark that, she goes into this particular area of the library, she'll find this little hidden nook where she can find some reading that she thinks that she may really be interested in.
Is that when she saw the bruise on her arm too?
It was like right before then.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Which led her to tell her like, "Hey, read this."
Mhm,
Which basically Mrs. Clark figures out are Miss Duxbury's journals or diaries.
mhm,
And so then we start to learn about Miss Duxbury, about her past, of like how she became to be a three-time
mhm.
widower,
Widow.
widow.
Mhm,
And then let's see, jumping back for a little bit, we have Rose. And so we basically mentioned like how she's unhappy, but then she's also secretly plotting on probably leaving her husband because this isn't really the life that she's cut out for.
mhm.
And that part she hasn't really shared with the group at this point. I don't think she ever really shares it,
I don't know if that
that she
she
was going to
shared it,
leave.
but I know she ended up keeping it to herself. Her situation was interesting though, because she really did love her husband. That wasn't,
And he very much loved
he
her.
did, that wasn't a match. He was one of the few husbands who was fine with her reading, was fine, but he couldn't support her outwardly in the way that he wanted to because his brother was so overbearing and because his brother wanted him to be
Mhm.
like this domineering man and you control your woman type of thing. Like she doesn't need her own opinion. And he didn't feel that way about her. So there was like this tension between he and his brother and then he and his wife because he wants to please his brother, wants to please his wife. So I kind of felt bad for him. They put him in a very difficult position because he
Yeah.
didn't really sign up for that either, you know? So I understood both sides of that, but that was rough for her.
Yeah. So because he was trying to please his brother, he was imposing his brother's beliefs on her
Mm-hmm.
because he's like, look, this is important for the family. I have to do this. Like, unfortunately, we're not going to have this blissful love story that we imagined that we would, because now I have to step into this role, and this role is going to require both of us to do this thing.
Hmm.
So you need to be more like everybody else. Sorry, not sorry. You're just going to have to do it. And um, she basically was like going through his stuff because he took one of her books that she borrowed from Miss Duxbury,
Hmm.
and um, so she was looking for the book, and then she finds basically like a man's manual on how to basically get your wife to be obedient, how to solicit adult entertainment,
Hmm.
how to pay for it, how to ask for it discreetly. Just then there was also like basically kind of not. I guess at that time you could view it as like pornographic pictures.
Victorian porn, right?
Yeah.
Like
So
fully clothed women.
so she was, like just totally blown away. She's like, "You don't want me to read was it
Jane
Jane
Eyre.
Eyre, but
Hmm.
you got like Playboy magazine in your drawer?
Right.
Like what?" He's like, "My brother gave it to me." Oh, because it's also on how to keep a mistress, like
Mm.
how to get one, how to financially maintain it, like the relationship and all of that. And his brother is basically like, find another woman on the side, and then you won't be such a simp for this American trash that you brought back to our doorstep.
Right.
Like, of all the things that you've done that have disappointed me, marrying her is probably the biggest disappointment of all.
And he would say that to her too.
Yeah,
Yeah, he
in
was
front of her
very
face.
right. Yeah.
He was not discreet about how much he loathed her.
Hmm.
But she tried to bite her tongue, but more often than not, he would trigger her and she would pop off at her American mouth.
Very American of her. Had to be said though, because he
Yeah,
was out of pocket.
very much. And then we also find out along the way that Rose is also pregnant.
Hmm.
Um, what, maybe like 3 months, 4 months along,
Hmm.
probably. Um, so then going back, we find out the backstory to Miss Duxbury is she was supposed to marry, I don't know, a duke or somebody like
I think so.
very, if,
Like someone distinguished.
yeah, and she was going to run away, and she met, I don't know, some, well, he wasn't a beggar, but he was like some lowly
Hmm.
peasant guy, and she basically fell in love, and they were gonna run away together. Well, they weren't gonna run away together. He didn't know she was wearing, when she was gonna run away, she took her maid's clothes, and so he didn't know that she was who she was.
Yeah, he had no idea of her status.
Yeah, so she started sneaking out and seeing him. She secret low key got knocked up, and so she had told her best friend about it, and her best friend basically stabbed her in the back and told her parents what her plan was.
Crazy.
And so they basically put her on lockdown. Um, and then so she stupidly also had asked her at that time to send him a letter, basically saying like, "I got your baby, let's run away together."
Mm-hmm.
And so she's like, "I got you." And then she comes back with this letter where he's like, "You're not who you said you were. You need to be with your kind, and I'm gonna be with my kind."
Mm-hmm.
And so that completely broke her heart. So then Lady Duxbury finds out, like we said, that she's pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's got to get married with the quickness. And she found out that the love of her life, Elias, doesn't want anything to do with her.
Mm.
So she marries the Viscount, and, you know, everything is fine. Like, she has her son, and they're living their life, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
Like, it's not what she envisioned, but whatever. She has her son, and she's so happy
Yeah.
to have her kid.
Right. Yeah. She's not miserable in the marriage, but she really doesn't.
Right.
I mean,
But then her ex BFF is like, "No, this won't do." And basically tells her husband that that kid isn't yours.
yeah.
And so he loses his shit and basically like beats the snot out of her regularly
Mm-hmm.
for deceiving him and just all the things. And so she comes up with a way to end him, with I think she ended up poisoning him or something like that.
I think she did. I forget what the
Yeah,
stuff is called. Yeah.
some poison garden.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, so but then she, after he died, she basically found out that he was a gambler and left them penniless. So great,
Right.
awesome. Now she has to get married again
Hmm.
because she's a widowed single mom,
Hmm.
which is not a good position to be in back in those days. So then she gets married to another guy. It was okay. However, he was basically abusive to her son. Like, would verbally abuse him, just yelling at him. Sounded like he kind of roughed him up a little bit, but not like, most of it seemed like it was verbal and emotional
Yeah.
abuse. But not in front of her. And because she started noticing a change in her son.
Hmm.
And so um he confessed to her, like, when you're not around, he does all of these things to me.
Hmm.
And then when she would confront him about it, he basically would gaslight her
Right.
and is like, you're crazy, you're not well, like there's something wrong with you,
Yeah, you're
which
gonna
you have to
believe a
be
kid.
correct. And you have to be very careful, because when people start throwing around the word crazy,
Back to our first point.
correct,
It was very common to
you
get put
be
into an insane asylum,
clink
right?
clink. So, she was sent, she was summoned to do some kind of like tea thing, at another lady's house. And when she came home, she found her son outside in the cold rain. Her husband basically was yelling at him, spilled the ink stuff for some document that he was writing.
Hmm.
Basically spilled it, blamed him for it, sent him outside, and didn't allow him to come in, like, for hours and hours and hours. And basically it sounded like he ended up getting pneumonia,
Hmm.
which he eventually succumbed to. Like, got a little bit better, but then he still had like that rattle in his voice,
Right.
and he ended up dying, and that broke her.
Understandably so.
And as a result, she broke him.
Hmm.
She
Yep.
killed him. Um, and so after that, luckily, this guy, he was pretty financially set. So she was like, okay, but now she's by herself.
Hmm.
And um, so then going back to like present day, because in the story, you kind of go back and forth the diary and then what's happening in
It
these
felt
ladies'
very
lives.
Verity in that
Yes,
way.
it
Yes.
did.
Hmm.
Very much
Hmm.
so. I felt the same way. Um, and so then, like, kind of going back to the ladies, you have Mrs. Clark, who basically everybody is aware her husband's abusing her. She's staying because of her kid, because she can't just leave. She has a kid to think about.
Right.
And then um, Rose starts volunteering for, sounded kind of like a homeless shelter.
Hmm.
And then Lavinia is feeling very free with her poetry writing, where she goes to this ball and she meets Mr. Wright, who is an aspiring attorney.
Hmm.
Um, and the person that he's doing his apprenticeship under specializes in kind of like women's rights, but in terms of like women, trying to basically help women who have been wrongfully committed into a sane asylum.
Yeah, he works for someone who really advocates for women, so she finds this very appealing,
Yeah,
especially in this society. Here's a man saying that he acknowledges that it's not right what's done to women, and a
right,
lot of people get put away that shouldn't be put away.
right. And he is, I think, he's like one boy out of like four girls or something like that. So
Hmm.
he's like, I have sisters too, I get it, like women need to be treated better.
Hmm.
So for her, for Lavinia, she's like slowly becoming the smitten
Right.
kid.
Rose still hadn't told them that she's pregnant yet,
Right, she hadn't. So
or her
then
husband.
Mrs. Duxbury invites all the ladies to go to a cottage that she has, but it's like an overnight stay. So for everybody except for Mrs. Clark, this is super exciting, but Mrs. Clark has to be very strategic on how she brings this up to her husband because she's like, my husband's never gonna go for this.
Yeah, it's like they have to ask for permission. It's not
Yeah,
like, hey, I'm just gonna go away for a girls' weekend. No, no, not even a whole weekend.
just one
I
day,
just want to
one
spend the
night.
night, right?
Yeah. So, with the help of Mrs. Duxbury on the low, like she didn't know Miss Duxbury did this, but she basically sends her husband like a package of dates
Mm-hmm.
and like a letter being like, thank you so much for allowing me to borrow your wife for the night for this thing. So basically the husbands are thinking that despite the rumors about Miss Duxbury, she still is very high status, so
Right.
being associated with her is a really good thing. And the
Mm-hmm.
last thing you want to do is slight somebody who's got like really good social standing.
Right.
And so then Mrs. Clark asks again if she could go, and he's like, absolutely not. But then end up basically convincing him it was his idea to let her go
Mm-hmm.
because the last thing you want to do is offend her. But then also she has insinuated that she's gonna spill some tea.
Mm-hmm.
And him thinking that, all like everybody else, that she's killed her husbands,
Right.
he's thinking, oh, nice, this is
Mm-hmm.
going to be juicy. So as soon as you get back, I expect to hear what this is all about.
Mm-hmm.
So then they all go off to the cottage, and it turns into like,
Kind of like a fight camp.
yeah,
Not
like a
really, but
wellness, like a women's wellness retreat
right.
where they have like self defense with like a hairpin,
Mm-hmm.
and then
I
which
love
Mrs.
that.
Clark
I
was
thought that was so cool.
killing it.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, this sounds amazing. And then they also had a medium there,
Mm-hmm.
which was really cool. And then she shares with them this little greenhouse that she has on the property that is completely filled with poisonous plants and herbs and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And basically tells them if at any point in time anybody needs to use this as a sanctuary, say the word.
Right.
I have very discreet staff. Like Mrs. Duxbury's staff is super duper loyal. She really takes care of them and they
She
take
made
care
it
of
a
her.
point to hire people who really needed it,
Hmm.
you know. And for that, people knowing that, they became indebted to her and really just like anything for Miss Duxbury,
Yeah,
basically.
anybody who needs to get away, I have tons of properties. Like, we will make it work. Say the word, discreet carriage will pick you up, take you wherever you need to go. Like, she's a very, very much a girl's girl.
It was very awesome because here they are reading all these books written by women about women empowerment. Here you're going to learn some self defense, and we know that you obviously can't carry a weapon, but you wear hat pins all the time. So here's how to disarm
Hmm.
someone with your hat pin. They had like a dummy with a pillow attached to his neck. This is how you disarm someone. Had the medium. It was just a really cool girls' weekend and really empowering. And I don't know. That was one of my favorite parts of the book,
Yeah.
honestly. Yeah.
You could definitely just envision this happening out like in the country
Yeah.
and how cool it must have been, especially when she's like, "Oh, I'll give you some time to freshen up." And you could just see these women in these big dresses and these corsets and they're just
Hmm.
outside and their hair's falling down cuz they're ripping these
Yeah.
hat pins out and just yeah, I thought that part was just so lovely.
Yeah.
So then after that, meanwhile, Mrs. Clark is still reading Miss Duxbury's journal.
Hmm.
Nobody knows that this exists other than her.
And
So,
Eleanor is also feeling a little guilty because she's kind of like, I mean, she said that I had access to all of this
mhm,
because Lady Duxbury pointed her in the direction, basically intending for her to find the diary, but Eleanor just said she told me to go over here. She didn't tell me exactly what to read. So she's
right,
feeling a little bit like she's invading some privacy, but she also can't put it down
because
either.
it's so
Right.
juicy, super tea. So, in that, um, the other ladies don't know any of these things,
Hmm.
like about her having killed her husbands, about having a child, having that child die, like none of those things. Um, But Mrs. Duxbury's like, hey, how far have you gotten? She's like, did you get to the part about Miss Middleton? I think that's how you say it. Which we find out that so basically there's a lady in town called Miss Meddleson, and nobody likes her. She's a messy ass gossip, but she's super high in society.
Mhm.
So she throws these parties, and anyone who's anyone, you gotta lock in an invite. Otherwise, you basically are cooked for like the social
Yeah,
season.
you're
You're
like a
like a
social
pariah.
misfit, right?
So they're like, oh God, they just have anxiety about going to. She invites all these people to the party, and they all have anxiety about it. Rose finds out she basically is the only one who didn't get an invite, which for her and her husband is a really big issue, because her husband really needed her to get an invite
Mhm.
in terms of what he's stepping into his brother's shoes as a duke. So, her not getting it again is an issue, and we low key. So, Miss Duxbury asked Miss Clark, "Hey, did you get to the part in the diary about Miss Middleton?" And that's when she basically is confirmed, like, yes, I should be reading this. I need to be reading it.
Right.
And I need you to keep going because
Right.
there's a part in there, like, I can't tell you this. You're going to have to come to this all on your own with
Mhm.
what you're reading, but I need you to pick up the pace
Right.
because time is of the essence.
Yeah.
Because what you read in here is going to help Rose. So move it along.
Mhm.
So she's like, okay, cool. So she keeps reading, and as she's reading, she finds out that Lady Duxbury was married one more time to Mr. Duxbury, whatever his title
Mhm.
is, I don't remember. But basically, she married him. He was an old guy. Let's say she's maybe in her 30s at this point, I'm assuming. So, like, whatever. He was much older than her, and
Mhm.
she's like, this is safe. He's not looking for anything from me other than companionship. And at this point in my life, I can do that.
Yeah.
He's old, he's frail, he's not going to beat me. Like, we're good.
It's going to give me the stability that I need, right?
Correct. And we both get what we want in terms of companionship.
Mhm.
However, her ex bestie, this barren ass
Yeah.
bitch, who's bitter because she can't have her own kids and is
Right.
unhappy in her own life, basically tells her third husband about her having this whole life
Mhm.
of meeting Elias, having this kid, these husbands, all this stuff. Basically tells him everything. So then kind of puts it in his head like, she's younger than you. So if you're not careful, she's going to leave you for a younger guy.
Mhm.
And so he basically locks her up,
Right.
makes her a prisoner, and only allows her to leave like maybe an hour a day, if that, but basically just locks her in the tower and only allows her to read, which up until that point, she complained about not being able to read as much as she loved it. And that was really like the only good thing that she had about that time of being
Right.
locked in the house was being able to read all of these things.
Mhm.
He dies.
Mhm.
But we find out that Miss Middleton is her ex bestie. Alice is Alice Middleton.
Mhm.
And that, so as Mrs. Clark is reading the book and discovering all of this,
Oh, this husband died of natural causes. I think we
yeah,
need to say that, yeah.
he just basically died.
Like she didn't off everybody. This
But
one did, you know. Yeah.
or did she? So Mrs. Clark finds out all of this stuff about, like Miss Middleton. But what she also finds out is that Miss Middleton was barren
Mhm.
and she did never have any kids. But she did end up having a son. That's interesting.
Right.
How did she get a son?
Mhm.
And so the son that she has is basically adopted.
Mhm.
And so that's the information that Mrs. Clark finds out that will allow her to basically, so she basically goes to meet with Lady Meddleton and is like, I know your little secret, and unless you want the secret to get out, I'm gonna
You
need
can
Rose
invite
to get an
Rose, right.
invite
Mhm.
pronto. And she was like, you're nasty. Fine. So,
By the way, Lady Duxbury says what's up.
yes, exactly. And then as Mrs. Clark is leaving Lady Meddleson's house, she gets attacked in the alley,
Mm-hmm.
which seems
Very
very coincidental.
coincidental. Mm-hmm.
But she beats his ass
With the hat pins.
with the hat pin and holds it the fuck down. So,
Yeah, they tried to say that the main streets are too busy and they were trying to protect her with the having the carriage on the side street and like a rough
super
part.
sus.
Really crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. So Rose gets an invite um, to Lady Meddleson's little soiree, and um, so they all basically get home from their trip. Rose goes home, has an invite. Lavinia gets home to find out that her dad went in her room and read her poetry,
Oh shit.
and basically now wants to commit her
Right.
for being mad. So then she's freaking out. She gets one more time to basically go to the society and say goodbye. And then Eleanor Clark goes home and finds that her husband basically, her son was crying the whole time that she was gone. He fired the nurse, the wet nurse,
Because she couldn't get him to stop crying.
right? And so basically the kid is like been crying all night long
And told
with
her she was a
nobody.
bad mother for leaving when you only let her see this kid like
Correct.
total of 30 minutes a week anyway.
And also said that she could go. So she gets home and it's like he beats the snot out of her. Like she's a mess. And so she's like, I gotta get out of here like tonight. And so all the stuff that happened at the cottage basically kind of starts to fall in place for her.
Mm-hmm.
So they come up with this plan where um, Mrs. Clark is going to pack up a bunch of stuff that's being donated to Rose's, the nonprofit that she's working for that helps the homeless.
Her maid is helping her do this.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, she's going to go to the tea. Her maid's going to pack up all of the stuff, and then Rose is going to send somebody to come pick it all up, and then they'll basically be able to have it at the cottage, and then she's going to run away since there's no nurse to hold down this kid and get in the way. She's basically gonna sneak out, and then Rose is like, "We can take you to America, and my dad is gonna help you, and you're gonna be good."
Mm-hmm.
And so she's like, "Cool." So then they all go back to the society. Eleanor says her goodbyes, um, and then Mrs. Duxbury is like, "Wait, give these books to your mom, and tell your mom to give them to your dad.
Mm-hmm.
Have him read them, and then see if after he reads them if he still feels the same way that he does about your poetry." And so then for Mrs. Clark, all of that other stuff gets like kind of set in motion. And then in the meantime, when Mrs. Clark gets home, so there was like a situation, I don't remember what happened, but basically Mrs. Clark's shoes and everything got totally destroyed, like in the rain. And so her and Rose ended up switching shoes. And Rose lives like a few doors down from Miss Duxbury. She's like, I live a couple doors down. Like, it's cool. So Rose, or Eleanor Clark, wears Rose's shoes that have like this distinct design on them so that her husband basically doesn't beat her for having torn up shoes. And so when she goes home, she sees that her maid is basically all beat up, and her husband is like, your maid has been stealing because she got rid of, like, look at this box that's only got you and your son's clothes, because she's like, oh no, this is to donate. And he's like, that's interesting, so why did you tell her to get rid of all your jewelry too? And she's like, my jewelry? She's
Mm-hmm.
like, he's like, yeah, you didn't tell her to get rid of the jewelry, because if you didn't, then she's a thief and she's going to jail.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's already beat her up, but the maid didn't spill tea.
No, she
The maid
didn't.
is like, I stole it. I was trying to do better for my life. And she's like, and Mrs. Clark, I low key was like, oh, you're such a, like, rock in a hard place. But she basically takes the L and confesses, like, I was going to leave you.
As she should have, yeah.
But I was like, oh, you could have helped her like on the back end, maybe. But no, it was the right thing to
She
do.
had no power. She couldn't have. I mean,
True. But yeah, so she basically confesses that she was gonna leave him, and he's like, say less. Commits her
yeah.
immediately.
ASAP. Yeah.
So basically, as she's on her way to, so the doctor who basically delivered her kid, has taken care of her, basically signed off on the fact that she's mentally unwell because she had a little bit of postpartum depression. Meanwhile, her kid is like 2, 3 years old.
Hmm.
He basically is like, yeah, she's mad. She had postpartum depression. Like, she's a danger to herself and others. So, as she's in the little,
Carriage.
yeah, the
Hmm.
carriage, um, which I thought was really cool because she is like, there's like a coin that she had sewn into the lining of her dress, which her
Hmm.
husband was like, you need to make sure you always have a little something on you at all times because you never know.
Hmm.
And she was like, this is probably the only good thing that he's ever done for me.
Hmm.
And so she sees this little boy and she's like, hey, go to this address, tell her this is where I'm going and this is what happened. He's like, well, how are they gonna, what if they don't believe me?
Hmm.
And so she takes one of the shoes and throws it out the window.
Yeah.
And so he runs down, and then Miss Duxbury basically like rounds up the ladies of the society, which have really come together as like this super tight knit friendship group.
Hmm.
While she's spreading word to get all these ladies to come back and figure out how we're gonna get all of these women, like
Make
how
a
we're gonna
plan to get her
to
out.
get her out,
Mhm.
right? Rose basically reconciles with her husband,
Mhm.
tells him that she's pregnant, and he's so happy and basically is like, I never stopped loving you. I didn't want this life. I don't want this life. I just want to be with you.
I don't
But
want to change you.
unfortunately,
Yeah.
like, this is where we are. So, how about when you're home, do whatever the hell you want? But when we're outside, we're going to have to play the game.
Mhm.
And she's like, cool. Like, I'm really sorry for, like, kind of causing all these issues, but like, I was just afraid. And he's like, wait, because I guess he feels the baby like kind of fluttering. And he's
Mhm.
like, wait, you've known all this time and you didn't tell me? And she basically is like, well, I was afraid to tell you because your brother said if I don't get my act together, he was going to have me committed.
Right.
And I didn't want that. So I didn't want to tell you about this if he, and he was like,
He got pissed instantly because
he
he had
was
no
hot.
idea his brother did that.
And
Right.
he was like, there's no way, not him or anybody else is going to mess with my family, period, point blank.
Mhm.
We got us. We're going to do this. It's cool.
Mhm.
So they're like lovey dovey.
Mhm.
And Lavinia went home. Her mom had given her dad the books, you know. He read them, had a meeting with Lavinia, and it was like, you're really good.
Mhm.
Like, this isn't my cup of tea, but you're really good at what you do because this is very similar type stuff,
Mhm.
and I get it.
Yeah, I know you're not mad.
You're not crazy. This is your creative outlet, and if you're not hurting anybody, I don't really see what the problem is, especially when it's good.
Right.
Keep doing you, boo.
Mhm.
And so she's like, can I go to the dance? He's like, yeah, because your sister was in here pleading for you, even your brother, which her and her brother did not get along.
Mm.
So she was like, dang, like even my brother came in here and was like, let her go. So basically, the original plan was for Lavinia to go to this dance, see Mr. Right. Wait, no, I skipped. I messed up. So the ladies go back to Miss Duxbury's
Yeah, I
house.
was gonna say, doesn't this happen after the
Yes,
dance? Okay.
I messed up.
Girl, you got me second guessing everything I do. So I'm like, I'm gonna just let her ride. I'm gonna let her cook.
No, I messed up.
Because I remember them being at the ball and feeling like we're here and Eleanor is
Yeah,
in there.
correct. So Lady Duxbury rounds up the troops, tells them what happened. They devise a plan to basically um, basically spread a rumor, making it seem that Mrs. Clark is sick.
Hmm.
So that nobody thinks that she's being committed or anything is amiss,
Right.
because this is an event of the season unless you are on your deathbed, you're not missing this event.
Right.
So they basically had to spread that rumor. And so everybody pretty much has a job to do. So Lavinia sees Mr. Clark and is like, hey, this is the situation. Can you and the guy that you're working for, like, help us out? And basically he's like, yes, absolutely. So, and then he's also like, I know this isn't really a good time to ask because I don't want you to feel like this is,
Your
like
answer is
a
dependent on me
quid
helping
pro
you.
quo,
Right.
but I'm feeling you. And she's like, I mean, yeah. So they basically start courting. And then meanwhile, as all of this stuff is happening, you get little snippets from Mrs. Clark while she's committed, and you basically get to find out like how really rough it
Right.
is.
Mm-hmm.
And that she only spent 5 days in there, but it was a hot mess.
Mm-hmm.
And while the ladies are at the party, Mr. Clark shows up.
Right. Like none of this happened. Like he didn't just have his wife committed.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that same day.
Yeah.
And he's just acting la-di-da like there's nothing going on. And probably they're shopping for his next wife, for
Mm-hmm.
somebody to come take care of this little kid
Right.
that he's stuck with.
Mm-hmm.
The ladies are able, with the help of Mr. Wright and that lawyer, they and a lot of bribes,
Mm-hmm.
they basically are able to get Eleanor out, and she's completely comatose, incoherent,
They
not making
basically
any
drag
sense.
her out. Like they said that she couldn't even walk herself. Like
Yeah,
they brought her out, head slumped over, hair looking crazy. Like they had never seen her like that before.
yeah.
Had to carry her to the carriage and
And what a drastic change it was, just even in her weight within 5 days.
right.
They were just totally blown away
And
by the
Lavinia
state of
was
her.
almost having a panic attack because going to a mental institution was one of her biggest fears.
Right.
And
Because her grandmother had been committed, and she thought because of her thoughts,
right.
i.e., poetry,
Yeah.
that she was going to end up being committed.
Yeah.
She
So
almost was.
well Lady Duxbury was like, you like I can do this myself. You don't have to go there. She's like, no, I want to go and I want to
Yeah,
be there because it's important for us to be there for her when she
right.
gets out.
So Rose, Lavinia, Lady Duxbury, they all go and get her out, and then basically like take care of her,
Mm.
help her back to health. And this part kind of irritated me about her. So basically, when she wakes up and
Oh.
is like has mental clarity, she's like, "I need to go home." And Miss Duxbury's like, "I don't think that's a good idea. Like, you could end up going back."
And we
And
can't get you out again.
no, like we burned all the bridges that we had and used all the cards. And she's like, I gotta get my kid. Like, I cannot do this. And she's like,
Can someone else go get your kid? Like, is there
yeah,
any
like
other way we can do
anything.
this? And she's like, no, you of all people should know what it's like. She's like,
Can't argue with that.
yeah,
So she's like, well, take this vial. Half is gonna knock him out. Whole, he's done.
yeah.
He's done in the dirt. And she's like, I can't do this. She's like, just take it just in case. So then she goes home and all hell breaks out.
Well, Lady Debbie's ends up, Lady Duxbury ends up sending her butler, we'll say,
Yeah.
Debbie's, who isn't, he's not a muscle man. Like, he's not, like, it just sounds like he was
I
a
mean, he
male.
is, but he has been through the ringer, it sounded like. Like he
Yeah.
got knocked upside, like had, sounded like he had a lot of concussions.
He was very much like big in size, but
No smoke.
yeah, no smoke at all.
No.
Yeah,
Just there for intimidation. And it
basically.
didn't really work well with somebody who was about that life.
Like Cecil was, who knocked him out immediately.
Immediately sent him back with a message, stay out of my business.
Right.
He's basically unconscious. Put him in the wagon and said, tell Miss Duxbury I said stay out of my
I just
business.
feel like her whole plan just lacked, and she admitted it as this is all happening.
I should have never done
Yeah,
this.
I wasn't strong enough for this.
Correct.
Like she had just basically came back to herself mentally and physically and was like, I gotta go. Which a mother's love, I
I get
understand.
it.
You gotta be smart about it though. And she
When
just
you're
was
dealing
not
with
smart
somebody
about
like
it.
that,
Right.
who has that much money and that much power, Like you really need to play chess and not checkers.
She goes to the door, knocks on the door, just stands outside because she can't go in anymore. The butler opens the door, is shocked to see her, and she just rushes through the door
Yeah.
with Debbie's. And he basically calls her husband. She tries to run upstairs. Her husband comes out, knocks out Debbie's, gets upstairs, grabs her, and then is pretty much it from
Yeah.
there.
Beating her and yelling at her and basically like, I'm committing you tonight
Takes her
and
in the study.
I'm sending you away. Like you are never gonna see the day of light. You're never gonna see your kid. And so at that point, like he's drinking his scotch or whatever, and so she's like, I'm gonna have to kill him.
Yeah, she still
It's
got the
him or
vial in
me.
her hand. Girl, when she tried to do the hat pin thing on her,
Oh, and he saw he
he took it and broke it. He saw it a mile
what the
away.
hell is this? He is a monster.
Yeah, for sure.
Like a monster. And so she's looking for an opportunity where she basically can slip this stuff into his drink, but he's like, go to your room and I'm going to have somebody at your door. So there's no way that you're going to be able to escape this.
Hmm.
Not this time. Too bad. Should have stayed away. And so she's like, shoot, how am I going to do this? And so he's kind of described in the beginning and throughout of being like overweight,
Yeah,
like the flaps of his jaw and whatever.
yeah.
And so he starts eating the dates that Miss Duxbury had sent over a couple days before
Which I didn't know until this. He apparently had never tried one because dates were his absolute favorite.
and popped one in his mouth and choked. And as she's basically like, oh shit, I'm not gonna have to do this after all.
Right.
And when I tell you, for him to choke on a date that was sent to him by Miss Duxbury
Hmm.
after all this stuff
Hmm.
was chef's kiss. I was like, yes.
And then she calmly is like, "You're right. I have been a bad wife. I'm
Yeah.
gonna go to bed now, like you said."
Mm-hmm.
Just in case the other servants who he had told to go to bed heard any of that.
Because they're known for being little gossiping snitches.
So she went and she got her son, went to bed,
Yep.
slept soundly until she heard a knocking on her door the next day.
And was
And
told that she is a widow.
yep,
Yeah. It was
yeah,
so such chef's kiss,
it
like
was
such a
good.
wonderful
It
ending
was
to
good.
the whole saga. And I really enjoyed the story. I enjoyed like the book being about women empowerment, about the joy of reading and
Hmm.
coming together in that way, and for it to be for it to take place in the era that it did at first, because it was very much like a blind grab for me. Like I I
I didn't
know they
realize it was just
say,
written last year.
yeah,
Yeah,
I was like, I know they say don't judge a book by its cover, but I do, and I know you
I
do too.
do. I do. Yeah.
So
I don't
this is a safe
subscribe to that,
space.
right?
If I see a cover and I'm like, oh, I immediately am intrigued. Like
Mhm.
that's step one. Have
Right.
an awesome cover or title. So for the title and the cover, I was like, oh, book club, book society, this has got to be good. And then when I saw it takes place in the 1800s, I was like, ugh,
Yeah, historical fiction
this
is
is gonna
not your
be
jam.
so
You remember
boring.
I told you I was like, this seems like a book that I would have picked.
Yes. I was very much like, I want to read this book, but I don't want to read this book. But as soon as I read it, like within the beginning, I was immediately drawn in because it doesn't move. Like it feels like it's moving slow, but it really isn't moving slow. Like everything really is coming together and you just have this sense of urgency.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed it.
I
I liked
enjoyed
it.
it. I thought it was good. Now, this is a book that and as we've talked before, you can read books for a little while, put them down, come back to it. I
Yeah.
don't usually do that. And I did that a little bit with this book. Like, it was very good, but it wasn't a page turner for me. Like, I didn't
Mm.
have the sense of urgency, but it was a really good book, really good message. I love the female empowerment. I love the epilogue.
Yeah,
I
the
saw that
epilogue
some
was
people
good.
didn't like, they felt like the ending was too much tied up in a bow. And usually I'm not a huge fan of that, but for this and how oppressed these women are,
It made
they
sense.
needed that. And
Yeah.
I love that. And the author's note, I loved her attention to detail with that too. She's like, every
Mm.
flower I mentioned in this book had a specific purpose. The hat pin throwing didn't actually, the hat pin fighting didn't actually take place until the 1900s. So I put that
Yeah,
in a
took
little
some
bit
creative
early, but
liberties.
I don't regret it. And I just, that hat pin thing was everything. So I'm glad that she made that decision
Yeah,
because I didn't know it was a thing, A, and then B, it was really cool. So then to find out that a little bit off the historical timeline, but that's okay. It's art. You do what you
correct.
want in your art. So it's called historical fiction. So yeah,
Yeah,
I really liked it.
I
And the
enjoyed that.
overall message, like women need to stick together and not
I
be a
love that the
hating ass bitch
most.
like Meddleson.
Correct.
Like
Yeah,
and
and
for her, for Lady Duxbury to so Elias, the love of her life,
hmm
basically she had decided after he died, like I but they weren't married.
oh, after her third husband died.
Yeah, after her third husband died,
Correct.
they came back together and kind of started like messing around, but he was really sick too, so they didn't have a whole lot of time together, but
Yeah.
they did really love each other and he told her like kind of like make your life matter, do something that's gonna bring you happiness. And after he died, she's like, I don't need any more men, like I'm good on that front, but I want to spend my life helping other women. Like there's not
Right.
going to be another woman in London who is like suffering in silence, whose screams aren't heard. Like I hear your screams and I'm going to help you. So to create this society that women helping women, I
hmm
think is amazing after she was screwed over so badly by her best friend. You
Correct.
would think most
For
people would
no
just
reason
not want to
other
deal with
than
women
just
at
being
all.
a hater.
Yeah, literally.
Like, and then to turn around and have this deep dark secret and her never tell anybody.
Right. Even after you did all that stuff to her.
Correct. Not once, not twice, thrice.
Right.
You
Right.
stabbed her in the back for no reason at all.
And literally only came around just to do that and then you scurry back into the
Correct.
woodwork. Right.
And just watched her suffer because
Hmm.
you're jealous of her. And I really, really enjoyed that because ultimately that is a thing.
Yeah.
You know, like women should empower each other. And there is so much, like, in just in terms of like even modern day, there are so many things that I feel like women are capable of,
Hmm.
like in strength, in child rearing, and just, you know, like intellect, all these things
Hmm.
that if we work together even more than a lot of us already do, I mean, mountains could be moved.
I agree. Yeah. Better together is definitely a thing.
You
Okay.
know, it kind of reminds me, like the ending reminded me a little bit of like anxious people in the end.
Mm.
How you have all these people that just really come together, like how Lady Duxbury ended up being the godmother to Rose's child, and you know, just how everything just really comes together, and you still have these women who are going out here and helping and making a difference. So in the beginning, there was one woman who was invited, but she just never showed up.
Mm.
And then in the end, she does show up, and she's like, "Is it too late?" And Miss Duxbury's like, "Never." You know, like everybody's all, but like all the things that happened couldn't have just happened with Miss Duxbury doing everything.
Right.
It had to have happened because all of these women came together and they helped each other in all the little ways that they were able to. Even if you feel like, well, what am I going to do? Little old me.
Right.
But it's just a matter of being at the right place at the right time and seeing this need and being that person's like, hey, let me show you this painting when you see that there's somebody who's uncomfortable, you
Right.
know, and just being that person to be like, hey, can I show you this thing?
Hmm.
And just allowing that person like a moment of reprieve.
Yeah.
And it could just be that simple.
And then just acknowledging that stories can be different, but we're much more similar than we are different.
Yeah,
Like maybe my husband isn't beating on me, maybe I'm not oppressed in that way, but I'm also oppressed in a different way.
right.
And we can relate in that way. And I think Lady Duxbury did a very good job of trying to pair women together to your point of there are different ways of helping. And
Mm-hmm.
everyone is suffering. We're all suffering a little bit differently. And it's like, I've been there. And she
Mm-hmm.
eventually let all of them read her diary too.
Yes.
So that was important too. And yeah, the epilogue was awesome. Lady Duxbury, like, it's kind of starting a new, like the same society, but with a new group, like just basically inviting more women in and going
Yeah.
through that process. And
Planting these seeds.
I don't know if Lavinia and Mr. Wright got married or were getting married. They were definitely together and
Yeah.
definitely building something. And Eleanor's trying to make her way as a new single, happily single mom, but she's still in mourning. But what did she say? Gosh, there was a line in there, and I wish I would have highlighted, but it was something along the lines of like, "There's a lot of freedom under that black lace," or something like
Mm-hmm.
that. But yeah, like once she's done with that, like her wardrobe is going to be nothing but just spring colors and brightness once she's done with her black, and I love that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
It
was a
was
really sweet story. It was a good
I
read.
loved it.
Yeah,
I really, really enjoyed it. Like it was one of those ones where like when I think it was maybe like first couple of pages, I was like, I don't know, this is probably gonna be super boring. But then as soon as I get into it, I couldn't stop. I
yeah,
think I finished it in like a matter of days.
yeah. It was good.
Yeah.
Good pick. Highly recommend, guys.
Yeah. 10 out of 10. All right, besties. Well, let us know your recommendations down below, and we will see you in the next episode.
Bye.
Bye.